We, we are going to receive a presentation from our platinum supplier, HP, hire purchase. No? I'm told it's not hire purchase. I'm told it's Hewlett Packard.
Correct.
Oh, sorry, sir. Thank you. To our platinum presenter, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Naidoo from HP. What I'd like to do is, just like Perco and its members are navigating the future, I'd like to take you on a short journey in terms of how HP is navigating the future. What you see up there is two individuals many years ago started a business out of that garage. Just two individuals. And the company was named based on a coin toss. Bill Hewlett won, so hence the reason why it's called Hewlett Packard. From the garage to how HP has evolved over the last 75 years. And with this evolution comes a lot of change. You may or may not have heard, in the next coming week, we will be transforming our organization. What you see HP today will be different come 1st November. We are separating our business into two Fortune 50 companies. One company, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, that will focus on server storage, networking, software, cloud services. And then the company that I will be working for, HP Incorporated, and that will be focused on devices, computing, printing, mobility solutions, and services. But today I'm here to tell you about what is our interest in investment in terms of education. HP is all about inspiring outcomes, okay? If you came here today to listen to me talk about product, you're going to be sadly mistaken. What I'd like to do today is show you that we understand you as an education customer, and we want you to see us as an education vendor in terms of who you'd like to partner with. Everything's about the future, okay? In terms of what does their future look like. If we look in the past, a student in a village in a deep rural area would have had no hope in terms of getting an education, any type of education. But today, if we look at the same student in that same deep rural area, he or she is now connected at a global level and even competing at a global level. And this is all because of access to technology. Although this is a very positive thing in terms of global recognition, okay, we also need to be cognizant of the fact that we are developing the skills and we need to retain the skills for our country and our economy. So we need to take that into consideration. This goes without saying in terms of developing the relevant skills to address the 21st century marketplace. But I think more importantly, it's about how do we sustain this? It's easy to develop it, but what do we do to sustain it? And what I'd like to do is use the analogy of building a house, or building any structure for that matter. You need a strong foundation to keep up the structure, and you need a roof to protect all your investments, okay? So too in education, from an HP perspective, we'd like to take a look at what does that foundational infrastructure look like, okay? And does that foundational infrastructure support curriculum, the learning environment, and professional development? And that obviously is our key focus in terms of how we address and how we deal with customers in terms of the education space. Very important, okay, how do students learn? No two students are alike in terms of how they consume knowledge and at the pace they do so. So it's quite important for us in terms of the infrastructures that we build, okay, needs to be able to support all different styles of learning. Not forgetting, and importantly as well, we also have special needs students and individuals. This is it's key in terms of HP and the way we address education. Although it's very, very simple, it's also very, very effective. Total access plus true learning equals meaningful outcomes. In terms of total access, okay, it's a fundamental human right that everyone has access to education. But not only access to education, it shouldn't be confined to classroom hours. It should be anytime, anywhere. When we look at true learning in terms of the learning environment, whether it's a formal, informal, or social environment, it needs to be supported and conducive for learning, okay? In terms of meaningful outcomes, like in any investment you make in life, you need to have some type of outcome. And in this case, from an education perspective, we're looking at outcomes such as academic in terms of building and developing relevant skills, in terms of social well-being, and then finally, it's all about, how do we grow our economy? I just want to take a little time and then go into more detail in terms of how HP sees these three pillars in terms of access, learning, and outcomes, okay? And how do we build in terms of this? In terms of total access, safety and security is very important in terms of both physical and virtual security. Infrastructure, once again, it goes back to laying the foundational infrastructure that is sustainable for years to come and addressing future needs and requirements. Learning devices, we need to make sure that we give access to all students and educators in terms of a device to access education. Deployment and support. What is a deployment without support? You need to be able to sustain it and be able to service the environment in terms of having maximum uptime. And then once again, it's a learning environment, right? We need to make it conducive, irrespective of where learning happens. And then finally, in terms of true learning, it's all about the content and curriculum, print and digital. Yes, we'd all like to have everything digitized, but that's not the reality. We have different styles of learning and people consume knowledge in different ways. So we have to have a blended learning environment as well. Professional development talks to, creating and developing the relevant skills. And then how do we manage these environments? Learner management system, student information system. This is important in terms of data analytics and how we address our students going forward. And then lastly, in terms of content, apps for learning, that across all platform agnostic. And then finally, again, meaningful outcomes. It's all about creating the skills, developing a social environment as well as an economical one. What do we want students to learn? How do we teach it? And how do you know that they've acquired these knowledge and skills? Okay? And this is where IT plays a major role. And if you come from an IT background, you would understand this. Cloud in terms of where does the content sit and the curriculum, how do we access it and how do we control it? Mobility in terms of devices. You need a device to connect to the cloud to access content and curriculum. Big data in terms of analytics, okay? Everything that we deploy today, how do we measure and manage this? How do we know that what we are doing today in terms of teaching and learning is making the difference in terms of acquiring knowledge and skills? And then finally, the security. Security, once again, it's from a physical and a virtual perspective, protecting the data, protecting the environment, and protecting the devices. Before I close, okay, I've got two things. One is around, from an HP perspective, we're looking for a partnership. And a partnership from a marriage perspective, just like how you would have a marriage, okay? It's always going to be ups and downs, but how we manage those ups and downs, and it's about long-term and sustainability. We're not in it for friends with benefits. So I'd like to see that when you look at vendors and choosing vendors, that you understand that HP as a technology vendor, but more so as a education vendor. And then lastly, we see a lot of RFQs, RFPs, tenders come out, and everything's driven around IT specification. What I'd like to see going forward, and it's all about navigating the future, the next time you publish a tender, think about putting educational specifications. And with that, thank you very much for your time and your attention.